racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up top!
Oh my God! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
It's very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go!
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?
Welcome one, welcome all to a presentation here on SimSpeed TV this Wednesday night. It's the Pro Truck Showdown. We had round one at Phillip Island last week, and now we move on to round two of the series at Silverstone. The layout from all the way back in 2008, the historic layout in particular. A very fast and flowing circuit with some pretty intense bends, but particularly intense in these Lucas Oil Off-Road Pro 2 trucks. We're about to move into qualifying. My name is Reese Gardner. Joining me in the commentary box, as with last week, Cam Dance. G'day, Cam. Round one looked quite interesting. Obviously, I wasn't there for round one, but you were, and we saw some brilliant racing and some pretty intense fighting for the win.
Yes, certainly. It was a really, really interesting night of racing at round one at Phillip Island. And yeah, if it's anything to go by from what we saw at round one, round two is going to be just as good, if not better. So really looking forward to tonight and seeing what this track's going to throw up and what sort of racing we're going to see.
Yeah, exactly. Aaron Dillon was the one who came away with the spoils of victory in the first round, but now we're going to see if another driver can get up there and take that crown. There's 3 races here tonight. We've got a 5-lapper, then we've got a 6-lap consolation, and then we have the feature. So a lot of racing to go on in the next hour. The driver with the most points from all 3 races is going to be declared the winner of the round. We got drivers coming out on track already for qualifying. They each only get 1 lap in this 6-minute session, so they've got to be careful of those off tracks. This is the old layout of Silverstone, obviously. Means that there is a lot of grass and gravel by the side of the racetrack, where now there's tarmac runoff, and you see just how much body roll Philip Howe is having to deal with through the Beckett's S's. I absolutely love this track in just about every car, but it's really something special in these trucks.
Yeah, it's certainly something you wouldn't typically find with these sort of trucks. It's very flat as well, so not really much in the way of camber or track characteristics to help the truck sort of turn. So you really got to manhandle the thing and try and get it through the corner as best as you possibly can. And it's really going to put up another challenge for the drivers as well, with the fact that there is a lack of character. So we'll have to wait and see how the drivers tackle this track. But it is fast and flowing. So if anything, it should be just as good racing, if not better, than what we saw at Phillip Island.
Yeah, a lot more corners to deal with here, and Philip Howe there just demonstrating the lack of a chicane at Club. And at the Abbey corner, well, it was replaced by a chicane in the mid-90s, but this is the original layout of the turn, and it's flat out in these trucks, coming up to a top speed of about 190 kilometers an hour as you break down into Bridge, which is an amazing corner at the old layout of Silverstone, and a lot of people around the world certainly miss it, as do they miss Priory. That fast left-hander leading into the hairpin of Brooklands, and then Luffield, a 180-degree turn to come back out onto Woodcote and the start-finish straight. You see that the amount of suspension travel in these trucks is they're certainly not built for this kind of circuit, but they can get around here at a rate of knots. Fastest time in practice was 2:04.414, and Philip Howe begins his lap now with a run into the very fast Cops corner. You've got to turn in early and turn hard in these cars, because the amount of weight transfer with the soft suspension and a lot of suspension travel, it means that you've really got to plan out every single corner, particularly through here.
Yeah, certainly. You've got to sort of put your normal racing stuff aside and actually think about it first thing and go, okay, I actually need to turn in early, get on the power early, all that sort of stuff you typically wouldn't do in a normal racing situation where you're trying to apex the corner and take a late apex or whatever it is. You've actually got to make sure you actually make the corner, with the fact that there's so much body roll and the car is just so soft with the way the suspension is. So it's really counterintuitive to what majority of the drivers will normally have, but nevertheless, it's one of those things that you have to adapt to in these trucks. And with the fact that it's also a one-lap shootout as well for qualifying, just puts the pressure on all that much more.
Yeah, Philip Howe, it seems, has missed the dreaded off-track 1X on his lap, but through into club he goes, and this is an interesting corner. You can actually extend the exit, and track limits don't matter all that much through that particular corner, so you might see drivers experimenting with their lines in the race. They got to run a pretty intense underdrive ratio as well in these trucks. According to the Pro 2 truck racing rules, the transmission of these things has to be a production-derived 3-speed automatic transmission, and it must be shifted manually. So you get a gear stick, you get to select whatever gear you want whenever you want, but there's no clutch pedal. So you've really got to use the torque of that V8 engine to your advantage. Philip Howe gets on the power nice and early, gets the rear rotating on exit, and that is a nice clean lap around Silverstone. We'll see how well he does in terms of time, and we're going to get more times coming in very quickly here. So across the line he goes, and it's a 2:04.342, but that's instantly pipped by Aaron Dillon and then Mitchell McLeod, who does a 2:02.3 on his lap. Fantastic. Todd Maxfield slots in at the back of the times so far. Aaron Dillon, Dwayne Preece up on top, and Ben Snell pips McLeod by 0.07 of a second to take P1. What about Riccardo Morganti? Comes across the line, and it's good enough for 11th place. Damien Westbrook then. What is he going to do across the line on the old start-finish stretch here at Silverstone? It looks like Damien Westbrook running a 2:04.386, good enough for 8th place, but Ben Snell coming in out of nowhere and taking the pole position for the first race. Awesome to see.
Yeah, certainly. Just put a cat amongst pigeons there, but with the fact that you had McLeod and Dillon at the front of the field last time out at Phillip Island. So going to be good to see someone challenge those two drivers up the front of the field. Although from what we saw, it was very, very close, even in a race scenario. So it'll be interesting to see what happens as Vernie comes across the line and puts himself in P11. So not too bad of a lap there. But yeah, it's really going to be quite fascinating to see how he goes in the race and what sort of action we're going to see at the front of the field between those top three.
Yes, indeed. And the session is just about to come to an end. So Phil Connor about to cross the line, but these are the qualifying results as they stand. It's going to be Snell and McLeod on the front row with Dillon and Donnelly on row 2. Preece and Stride in 5th and 6th with Philip Howe and Damien Westbrook on row 4. Daniel Stevens and Christopher Finlay join each other on the 5th row. And then we got Nathan Verney, Todd Maxfield, Morganti, the last driver to set a proper time. And then we got Peter Rothmans, Gary Wellman, Phil Connor, and Justin Howe dead last. And that's not going to be a good start to his night, considering he took a double podium at Phillip Island, finished 2nd in race 2 and 3. But we're about to get going here. All the drivers lining up on the front stretch here at Silverstone, the old start-finish straight. And these are the conditions, Cam. We're racing in the morning, so the track's quite cool.
Yeah, it certainly is nice and grippy at a 19-degree track temp, so not too going to be a lack of grip, that's for sure, and also not any humidity either, so it's not going to be any moisture in the track or anything like that, so it's going to be making some nice, good horsepower, and we're underway with the fact that the green flag is in the air, and a pretty decent jump by Ben Snell, but Mitchell McLeod's got a nice one as well.
Yeah, it looks like Dwayne Preece got a good jump off the line too. He hasn't been able to get an advantage over Aaron Dillon, who shoves it up the inside and almost turns Snell around coming into Copse. McLeod holds on round the outside as they recover. And there goes Mitchell McLeod into the lead of this race. And they're going to go 3 wide into Maggots. Ben Snell right in the middle with Dwayne Preece trying to find a way up on the inside. Aaron Dillon is stuck on the inside for Maggots and he gets hit by Dwayne Preece. And they have to vault themselves back a little bit. Sam Stride took a bit of avoiding action there, but it looks like the field has majority sorted themselves out through the Beckett's S's. McLeod leads from Snell, but Aaron Dillon and Dwayne Preece bumper to bumper for 3rd.
Yeah, they certainly are bumper to bumper at the moment. Preece is going to be on the outside for the next corner. He's going to look to try and make a move, although it's going to be pretty ambitious to try and do, and he's going to have to sit in behind for now.
Saw Cade Donnelly trying a move at Stowe on Sam Stride, but that wasn't successful. Up the front, it looks like the top two starting to break away as everyone battles behind them, and there's a real gaggle of cars in the mid to rear pack headed up by Todd Maxfield. But we take a look from the back of Sam Stride to Cade Donnelly. He gets on the power a little bit better out of club, but the runoff area, not as much grip out there, so he's lost that particular run. But there's a good opportunity here for slipstreaming. These cars punch quite a hole in the air. Well, they're not really cars, are they? They're trucks as they come into the twisty final sector. But down these long straights here at Silverstone, they certainly put themselves in for good draft opportunities. Bit of a scramble there for Brooklyn's corner. Aaron Dillon stuck on the inside and trying to regain on Dwayne Preece, who has ended up making the move on him throughout the course of the first lap. And we're going to have 4 to go at the line. And that pack of cars sorts themselves out nicely. Cade Donnelly all the way at the back of this. He's trying to find a way through it, Cops.
Yeah, and Sam Stride putting a lot of pressure on the back of Aaron Dillon as well. He's going to have to go defensive to try and hold on to the position. Cade Donnelly, unfortunately, dropping back a little bit. Not a bad thing to try and get a run as well, but it doesn't seem to quite help. There's also a little bit of a scrap going on just behind them. But at the moment, Mitchell McLeod doing a really, really good job to hold off on the pressure that Ben Snell is putting on the back of him.
Yeah, Ben Snell, turns out he's once he gets into that rhythm, it seems like he's got the measure of McLeod in a few sections around the circuit, but we saw at Phillip Island, McLeod's throttle application was one of his biggest strengths. It allowed him to get great runs onto the straights. Snell, though, in the slipstream, he's got the momentum and he could try and move at Stowe. No, he elects to not for the time being, but McLeod overshot it a bit, ran wide in the middle of the corner. That means they're going to be side by side on the run up to club, but there's no heavy braking zone on this layout of the circuit. It's just a sweep all the way to the left, and McLeod once again running a little bit wide, but that doesn't seem to be hurting him that much.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be actually, which is kind of interesting considering you want to be trying to maximize the grip that you've got instead of sledging that front end, but nevertheless he's doing a pretty good job at holding on to the truck and doing what he needs to do for the current time. Although Ben Snell with a nice run towards bridge, but not quite close enough to get a move done.
Well, let's see what he can do in the final sector of the circuit. McLeod getting a bit liberal with the track limits there at Priory. On the inside of the corner, Ben Snell uses a bit of the grass on the outside. All fair play in these trucks. Seeing a bit of side-by-side running for 4th and 5th. It looks like Sam Stride just got the move done, but Aaron Dillon shoves it back up the inside at Luffield. Can Stride hold on around the outside, spinning the wheels? And it looks like they've just... Oh, are they stuck together? They're stuck together! Sam Stride has gotten his wheel wedged in the side of Aaron Dillon, and both of them have merged together down the front stretch. There we go. Dillon finally breaks 3, but both of them have lost multiple positions out of that.
Yeah, dropped to the back of the top 10 as a result. It was not an ideal situation for either of those drivers really to be stuck together, and it was a little bit of an oddity with these trucks being so high off the ground that it's easy to get stuck together like that, but nevertheless we'll have to wait and see what they can do with the rest of the race with only 3 laps to go.
Oh, Sam Stride with a bit of an off-track excursion in Beckett's, but managing to recover. He's got a little bit of time to make up there on Philip Howe, who's now challenging for 6th place from Aaron Dillon. Of course, last round's overall winner, Howe, with the run down the back straight, but Dillon squeezes him ever so slightly, leaves him a truck width, but holds on round the outside once again. You get on the throttle early in these trucks and you can really maintain the momentum, but it looks like Philip Howe just getting the move done. He had to get on the brakes though around the outside, which lets Dillon straight back through.
Yeah, it certainly does. And that's one of the things is you can make a pass somewhere, but if you don't have the momentum, you end up losing the place anyway. So it is one of the specialties about this truck is you really have to keep that momentum up and think ahead of where you are and really use what you can with the way that these trucks are. But nevertheless, it's really is quite the battle going on in this mid-pack.
Yeah, huge battle in the mid-pack, of course, headed up by Aaron Dillon. Philip Howe now is going to have to go defensive on Daniel Stevens. A little bit of a tap there. Philip Howe sent sideways, but Stevens backs out of it. Good stuff A little bit slow there through Brooklands, which has backed up Stevens. It allows Sam Stride another opportunity to get around the outside at Luffield, but elects to turn in and try and get the over-under on exit. More contact between he and Daniel Stevens, and that has made them lose touch with Dylan and Howe just up ahead. They're coming up to Todd Maxfield as well. So Aaron Dillon trying his best to regain a few positions and some valuable points for the round. But Mitchell McLeod and Ben Snell fighting hard with each other up at the front. And I'll tell you who this is really helping is Dwayne Priest in third place. He has run faster than both Snell and McLeod on a couple of the previous laps. So who knows? If Snell and McLeod come together on the final lap, this is the penultimate lap, then Dwayne Priest could be in with a shot.
Yeah, he certainly could. He's going to be in a nice position currently with the way that these two are probably going to end up scrapping it out in this last lap and a half. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But McLeod has done a really, really good job to hold off the attack from Ben Snell, and he's really all over the back of McLeod's car, truckers. Ben Snell, as they come through the back end of the section, you just see massive amounts of body roll in Snell with a pretty decent run, but not quite able to capitalize on the exit.
Yeah, not quite. And you saw on the front bumper of Snell's car the Scamander coffee mug branding. Scamander has come in as the sponsor of this round. Big shout out to you guys. Thank you so much for your support. It's awesome to see Scamander there represented on the bumper of a car challenging for the race win. In fact, on all bumpers of the cars. McLeod, it seems, with the edge on exit once again, coming through Priory and into Brooklands. But we're about to get the white flag and the attack will be on. Can Ben Snell snatch the first race win from Mitchell McLeod? Of course, knowing that the grid is going to be reversed for race 2.
Yeah, that is one thing that's just going to spice it up that extra bit more, as all these quick drivers are going to score decent points in the first race, but they're going to have their work cut out for them in the second one, having to come all the way from the back of the field. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with the reverse grid and who's going to end up taking out the race in the second part of the night. But nevertheless, it's looking like McLeod may have just done enough at this point to have the win in his hand.
Well, a few more corners to go before the next straight. He pushes hard into Maggots and then into Beckett's and out back onto the Hanger straight through Chapel Curve, the flat-out left-hander leading them back onto the straight. Snell, his throttle application doesn't seem to have worked out very well. He's lost touch with McLeod out of that set of turns. So at the very least, he has a little bit of a gap to play with. He can run a bit faster, maybe get a good run off a corner, try a move on McLeod, but he's rapidly running out of time, under half a lap to go for these guys up the front. And you see the rubber being laid down by Mitchell McLeod as he powers out of Stowe. A lot of power under the bonnet of these Pro 2 trucks. Snell challenging once again into club, but when it comes to the exit, McLeod, it seems, starts to just pull away a tad. Can Snell take advantage of the draft through Abbey? Seems to be gaining on McLeod slightly, but over the grass, over the white line, pushing incredibly hard is Ben Snell. He wants this victory. McLeod already has a victory under his belt in race 3 at Phillip Island, but can he open up round 2 with a win in the first race? It looks like he might have just done enough. Snell sideways into Brooklands. You can tell how hard he's trying to get the move done, but that run out of Maggots and Beckett's ultimately sealed it for Mitchell McLeod. He comes out of Luffield for the final time and takes the first race win of the night here at Silverstone. Snell gains on him out of Woodcote, but it's not going to be enough. McLeod takes it by just under a car length. Dwayne Priest is going to come home in second, Donnelly in third and fourth. Aaron Dillon comes home in fifth, and that was a very close run to the line for Philip Howe and Sam Stride. They come home 7th and 8th in the end, but the field very spaced out by the end of that. Just goes to show that these cars, these trucks, really take something special to get the best out of them. Looks like Riccardo Morganti is going to be one of our final finishers here tonight. Phil Connor is actually the last driver running at the moment. Riccardo Morganti across the line then into 13th place. And Phil Connor just making his way through the final section now. There's a 2-minute timer that's run up for the transition into the next race. So Phil Connor is going to have enough time to get across the line. But wow, what a race to start off the night. Pretty dramatic at the start there, but Mitchell McLeod coming away the best.
Yeah, certainly. Ben Snell tried, but just couldn't quite in the end manage to take home the win. But he'll at least have a second chance in the second race to at least try and beat Mitchell McLeod with the fact that he's going to be starting just ahead of him in this one.
Indeed, he is. So we're on the grid now for the second race of the night. And Peter Rothmans is going to start on pole here with Justin Howe and Phil Connor in the top 2 positions. So I'm interested to see how this one goes. McLeod starting from all the way back in 17th place on the grid. There's more cars here tonight than there was at round 1. So there's going to be quite the scramble into these opening corners in this race.
Yeah, it certainly is. And I think the beneficiary of this probably is going to be Aaron Dillon, with the fact that he's going to be starting a few positions ahead of the race winners, and the fact that he's got some decent pace. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do, whether he can capitalize on this starting position that he's in ahead of those quicker drivers. But nevertheless, we're about to get underway and see who's going to take the second race out.
Peter Rothmans not taking to the grid, so it's Justin Howe who starts from pole, and it's a good getaway from him up at the front. Just slotting in behind is Phil Connor. A bit of a side-by-side bump between Nathan Verney and Damien Westbrook as they fan out 2 wide into Copse for the first time. Big contact in the mid-pack. That's Sam Stride going over onto his roof. And that was contact with Todd Maxfield coming into Copse. Christopher Finlay, oh my goodness, look behind him. Quite the scramble coming into Maggots and Beckett's. Trucks going absolutely everywhere. And Dwayne Priest has been one of the drivers most disadvantaged by this. He's still all the way at the back.
Yeah, all those drivers who did actually start through just down the back end up having to scrap with each other, and they've lost a lot of time as a result, unfortunately. So they're having to get a bit of work done here. Is it going to be 3 wide down the straight nearly, and it's going to probably be in favour of Aaron Dillon up the inside. A bit of a hip check for Philip Howe, and Dwayne Priest copying the other end of it as well, but managing to get on by. But the start from McLeod has been absolutely awesome, and he's already inside that top 10.
Oh, giving a bit of a hip check there to Christopher Finlay in the process, though. Got the inside line. Let's see how well he does. That puts McLeod up into 6th place already, and we're not even all the way around the first lap. His next targets, Daniel Stevens and Phil Connor, but Phil Connor a bit slow through Abbey. Both of them get into him, and there's Ben Snell taken to the gravel once again. McLeod pushed off the circuit, big contact as they go 3 wide. Christopher Finlay goes through the middle of all of it, and that knocks McLeod back a couple of positions, and he's now behind Snell.
I don't know how they all made it through that, but nevertheless, great driving by McLeod to hold on to that one, and a bit of push and shove as well for good measure just further back in the mid-pack. But nevertheless, Ben Snell going to be taking advantage of the fact that he's now back ahead of Mitchell McLeod, who's getting absolutely monstered by everybody.
Yeah, he absolutely is. Meanwhile, side by side between Ben Snell and Phil Connor. Through the final corner, they made contact. More 2 wide running behind them. Daniel Stevens has the inside on Christopher Finlay, and he secured that. But Mitch McLeod behind them looking to make some moves. Finlay goes wide, and oh my goodness, that's for the lead. This pack is really close together. Gary Wellman, Justin Howe, and Damien Westbrook all filing into one in Maggots and Beckett's. Westbrook gives Howe a bit of a tag, and look at Ben Snell. He's come right up to the back of this pack now. Still side-by-side contact, huge contact, and Snell just sneaks through on the inside. That's 3 in 1. Ben Snell, excellent avoiding action as he now challenges for the lead with Gary Wellman.
What a move by Ben Snell to take 3 for 1 in one corner and just slip up the inside and say, thank you very much, boys. I'll take that one. So Great heads-up driving there by Snell to take 3 positions and want to move into the race lead immediately. So he's in prime position here to take advantage of the position that he's in to try and win this race. McLeod is still dealing with all the kerfuffle that's going on behind, just inside the top 5, and he's got a lot of pressure around him, but nevertheless we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Truck number 13 there, Damien Westbrook started this lap in the lead, but now with that contact through Beckett's, he's going to have to give it up to McLeod there, pushed right off the circuit, and that's huge contact between himself and Aaron Dillon. Dillon now going to be carrying a lot of damage. That was a fair whack between the two of them, but he manages to stick with Howe and McLeod, and that is now the battle for the top 3 that you're seeing on screen. Ben Snell still holds the lead, but Gary Wellman is absolutely chucking it into every corner to try and get that lead back.
Yeah, certainly putting a lot of work into it to try and keep up with Ben Snell, who's just slowly pulling away from the rest of the field. And Mitchell McLeod was finally broken free.
There's been a big crash at the back. Christopher Finlay's been sent over the fence by Phil Connor. That's a big shame. Christopher Finlay out of this race. They both came together at the exit of Luffield. Replay, thanks to our mates at Modem Simulation, actually looks like it might have been a hardware failure for Phil Connor because his wheel turned hard left coming out of Luffield. Have a look at this. So Christopher Finlay, side by side. And you see hard left there from Phil Connor. Looked to me like his wheel just decided to malfunction there. So Christopher Finlay, an innocent victim.
Yeah, it was a weird moment. To look like he might have had a bit of oversteer as well going through the corner, so that wouldn't have helped at all, but nevertheless not too ideal for Christopher there, and he's going to have to tow back to pit lane and he'll probably go that lap down as that's a big battle going on.
That was brave from Justin Howe. Last of the late breakers, slipped up the inside of Gary Wellman, who's fallen off the back now of Ben Snell. So both McLeod and Howe now by him, and they complete the podium places. So now looks like Aaron Dillon is going to make his way past Gary Wellman and take 4th place. Not quite the place that he'd want to be in considering his form at Phillip Island, but also considering the potential damage he collected earlier on in this heat. It's certainly could be worse.
Yeah, it certainly could be worse, and he's probably thankful that it isn't any worse, but nevertheless, he's doing what he can with what he has and not doing it too bad of a job with it. Is McLeod still continuing to come under pressure at the moment as he charges on to try and catch up to Ben Snell ahead of him. How putting the pressure on and keeping up quite well, actually. So see if he can stay on the back and follow McLeod on it through as he runs off the track just a little bit.
Only a little, though. He is still in contention, but he'd probably do well to just sit behind McLeod for now because they are really gaining on Ben Snell. The gap is just getting smaller and smaller to the lead every time they cross the line. McLeod, though, looks pretty comfortable in 2nd place at the moment. Nice smooth lines coming through the Beckett's S's. Ben Snell has enjoyed a lot of real estate out there at the front on his own, but looks like it might change pretty soon. We're over half race distance, by the way. It's a 6-lapper, and we have 3 laps to go. There's quite the pack in the back. Daniel Stevens, Cade Donnelly, and Philip Howe have been trading places a bit coming into the Beckett's S's. It looks like Daniel Stevens has come out the best out of those guys, but Donnelly and Howe, Philip Howe obviously suffering a few issues, but trying up the inside of Stowe. Can he get Stevens as well as he turns in front of him? No, but a little bit of contact between Howe and Donnelly settles that one in particular.
Yeah, it does. Although Donnelly coming back at him up the inside into the next corner, side by side, rubbing shoulders with each other, but fortunately not going to be able to make the move stick. Or is he? Because he sends it back up the inside with an over and under and a bit of a hip cheek, but manages to get the job done.
You can do that in these high-speed corners at Silverstone in these trucks. It looks like Cade Donnelly has secured the position there, a little bit wide out of Abbey, but maintains the momentum and keeps going. So we'll see how those guys are more towards the end of the race. Meanwhile, the lead battle looks to be heating up a bit because now McLeod and Howe side by side, again coming into Luffield. Justin Howe is really putting the pressure on, and it looks like the gap to Snell is, well, it's still lower than it was this time last lap, but they're not catching him at as great a rate as they were.
Yeah, certainly went, and Howe's all over the back of Mitchell McLeod as well, so he's definitely following on through, and possibly has a little bit more pace as well, so will be interesting to see whether he ends up having enough pace to get on by, whether he's just going to have to sit station.
Yeah, well, lap 5 out of 6. We're on the penultimate lap now. So time rapidly running out for McLeod to try and grab a second race win of the night. And look at them, they align astern now coming onto the hangar straight, and this is where the draft really comes in. Ben Snell doesn't have anyone to help him, but you see McLeod creeping up to the back of him. Can he maintain that momentum and fling it up the inside? He's going to have a go. Hard on the brakes into Stowe. Snell holding it round the outside. Justin Howe wants a piece of this pie as well. Ben Snell with the advantage, though, coming into club. He can defend that position. Having said that, though, this is going to be one heck of a last lap.
Yeah, it certainly is going to be one heck of a last lap with a three-way fight for the lead of the race. Mitchell McLeod, it looks like he might have just got enough of a run to try and challenge for the lead here against Ben Snell. He's going to try it around the outside, on through, onto the grass. And this is going to give Justin Howe an advantage, but he's going to be on the inside, and Howe's going to try around the outside, and he's managed to just be able to do it for the time being.
Oh, he nearly almost tried on Snell as well, but just backing out of it in time at the turn-in point. So Mitch McLeod, with that run out of Abbey, at a disadvantage coming into the final lap of this race. Snell using all of the track and some of the grass on the inside. Justin Howe making wheel-to-wheel contact, sent him up on 2 wheels, and now he's got no chance of fighting for victory.
Yeah, unfortunately, going to have to settle for third at this stage at least, so long as Mitchell McLeod and also Ben Snell don't come together. But if they do, he'll be right back in this, so we'll have to wait and see what happens. But what a battle it's been.
It's been an incredible battle between these guys, and that just goes to show you, you still don't want to make too much contact in these things, despite the fact that they lend themselves very well to biff and barge. So one more sequence of turns, and then we're back onto another long straight where Mitch McLeod will hope he can fire one up the inside. But one thing that I have noticed around this layout of Silverstone in these trucks is that if you are on the inside coming into Stowe, you're going to be at a disadvantage into club. So if McLeod wants to make this move work, he has to go to the outside, and he does. But Ben Snell moves to cover him, widen the turn in, keep up the speed through the corner. McLeod is right heavy on the throttle, trying to make this work here on Ben Snell. Coming into club once again, just guiding the car through these turns. McLeod gains a bit of an advantage in the mid-corner and goes to the inside, but Ben Snell, with a bit of a straighter throttle application, he gets the momentum, coming out onto the straight up to Abbey, and through Abbey, he looks nice and controlled. No grass excursions here, except for McLeod just behind him. Almost try to move into bridge, but it's not quite a passing opportunity. Here comes McLeod. The gap opens on the inside, but Snell covers him off brilliantly, coming into Priory. 2 more corners to go now. Brooklands and then Luffield. And Snell, it looks like, has done just enough to cover McLeod here. McLeod spins the wheels out of Brooklands. And this has allowed Justin Howe to creep up to the back of McLeod, but it's not going to be enough for him to take second. So Ben Snell, with that brilliant move through the S's on lap 1, securing himself a race 2 victory here in the Pro Truck Showdown. And McLeod just holds off Howe across the line.
Yeah, it wasn't quite enough in the end, but nevertheless, still a very, very good run to take the win. It was Ben Snell, as Damon Messbrook and Kate Donnelly come across the line to take 7th and 8th, and then you've got everyone else coming across the line now as Phil Connor coming through the final corner now to finish the race, and he will be one of the last finishers as well.
Yes, indeed. So 13th place Phil Connor comes across the line and will be very shortly into the third race of the night, 7 laps. There goes Phil Connor, having a bit of fun across the line, as do many drivers. Riccardo Morganti and Christopher Finlay, who was put into the wall earlier on, coming home in 15th, and there is Riccardo, just minding his own business there in 14th place, and finishing with a clean truck to boot. So that's the result then. Ben Snell and Mitchell McLeod, 1 and 2, with Justin Howe taking third. Aaron Dillon coming home in 4th place, with Gary Wellman completing the top 5. Dwayne Preece, unfortunately, could not get any higher than 6th, and drivers like Cade Donnelly and Daniel Stevens will be wanting something extra from that, as would Christopher Finlay in the 104 machine. An unfortunate incident there in Luffield, putting him over the fence and out of any kind of contention in that second race. We're in a 5-minute warm-up session now, where the drivers can do a few extra laps before we tick on over to the final race session of the night, a 7-lapper. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, certainly going to be a really, really interesting race to see what happens and who's going to end up taking out this final race and who's going to end up winning the night, as well as it would mean that Mitchell McLeod and Ben Snell are equal on points heading into this final race as well. So pretty much winner take all in this last race.
Yes, indeed. It's looking like it's going to be Ben Snell versus Mitchell McLeod for the round win tonight, as these guys are doing a bit of an expression session out on the track, just seeing how well they can slide it through the corners. There we go. There's the Scandinavian flick. Good stuff from Ben Snell, kicking out the rear on the entry into Stowe. I would love to see a drift comp in these trucks.
Yeah, certainly do put on quite a bit of a show with the fact that they're rear-wheel drive and also have a decent amount of torque and power to help them get through the corners quite sideways. So it's really, really cool to see, and would be quite interesting to see what sort of what you could do with these trucks in a sort of drift competition style event as well.
Yes, indeed. I'm reckoning something like the Charlotte Legends road course would be a great idea in these things. I actually did a hosted race with the Pro 2 Lite at the long Charlotte Legends road course with my teammates Fusion Sim Racing, and it was an absolute whale of a time. Love driving these things around road courses. Of course, these cars usually only race on off-road circuits like Crandon, with jumps, with flowing corners. But you put them on a track like this and it becomes a completely different kind of racing. There's going to be a bit less tyre smoke when the green flag drops, though.
Yeah, there's going to be a bit more throttle control happening as they're really getting sideways down the front straight here, all getting mixed up with each other. So, yeah, it's going to be really, really interesting to see what happens in race 3, and obviously going to be a little bit more controlled than this sort of driving.
Well, looking forward to the third race of the night. The grid for race 3 is determined by the finishing order of race 2, so that means Ben Snell and Mitchell McLeod are going to be on the front row for this one. So it's going to be a repeat of race 1, pretty much.
Yeah, it certainly will. So it's going to mix things up a bit, and yeah, we'll have to wait and see who's going to take this one out and what sort of battles we're going to see.
Yes, indeed. Justin Howe and Aaron Dillon will be starting 3rd and 4th. They'll be hoping that Snell and McLeod come together and allow them to take the spoils of victory as they had in the first round at Phillip Island. But that obviously remains to be seen. The sun continues to rise, though, and that's going to heat up the track just a little bit. It's up to 19 degrees track temperature out there as we just go past, or just hit, 9 minutes past 9 in the morning in sim time. These guys have had to get up early, grab a bit of a coffee on their way to the track.
Yeah, certainly have, and we'll have done it in style, clearly, with the fact that they're burning up those rear tyres quite nicely. So it's a little bit early in the morning, but nevertheless, it's still plenty of grip, but also still enough to do some decent skids in the process.
Yeah, very decent skids, especially around corners like Luffield. I love those those really long corners. Of course, if you're driving on one screen, Luffield is sometimes an exercise in frustration. You can't see the exit of the corner from where you turn in, as with a lot of the corners in this final section. But Ben Snell certainly testing the limits of his rear tyres in that final sector as we come up towards the end of the session. We'll be ticking over very shortly. You see that even with the tomfoolery that's going around, they're still managing to set some pretty good times there as Sam Stride sets a 2:03.2. But here we go. 3-2-1-0, the timer says, up at the top left, and we are ready to go for the third race of the night, and this is the final. Ben Snell versus Mitchell McLeod. They are equal on points, having taken a win and a second place each in the preceding races, so whoever finishes ahead out of them is going to win the round. That is, if Justin Howe and Aaron Dillon can't get themselves into the mix.
Certainly, and it's gonna be something of importance. It's just making sure they don't come together or create any sort of drama between each other. Ben Snell and Mitchell McLeod, they just got to focus on racing each other hard and seeing what they can do between each other. But who knows whether Aaron Dillon or just now can make a bit of a spoil to the party. So we'll have to wait and see nevertheless.
Revs rise for the final time tonight here at Silverstone. It was a very quick period there with the revs rising, and it's a great start from Ben Snell, but Mitchell McLeod got bogged down a bit. Justin Howe has moved in front of him now for second as they approach Copse. Onto the brakes they go. Let's see if there are any incidents back in the pack. Looks like everyone has gotten through cleanly so far, but now we get to the big choke point, the Beckett's S's, and side by side in the back of the pack, Gary Wellman just getting past Dwayne Priest and Damian Westbrook. They fall into single file running all the way through these corners, and oh, that's a bit of a problem there. Car running off. I think that was Damian Westbrook with a couple of issues, and that's backed the pack up into him coming onto the hanger straight. Bit of contact as well with Cade Donnelly for good measure. Big draft here. Up the front, it looks like Mr. Justin Howe right on the back of Ben Snell, but not taking advantage of the draft to move through into the lead of the race. Damian Westbrook protects the inside from Cade Donnelly for 7th and 8th place around that area, but Daniel Stevens almost pushed off the circuit at the exit of Stowe, and that is a truck off. Now, who is that? That was Damian Westbrook.
Yeah,
Westbrook has not had a very fun first lap, has he? He's been biffed and barged. He's been pushed off the circuit. He went for a bit of a journey through the grass, but he's still there in the mid-pack. Things could certainly get interesting up here at Bridge. Oh, Gary Wellman was almost off the circuit at Abbey, but through Bridge, managing to keep the position. Goodness me, this pack for the lower mid-pack is absolutely scintillating right now. Westbrook still holds on at the front of it all, but 3 wide coming up to Luffield. Todd Maxfield at a disadvantage around the outside. Can Cade Donnelly make his way through on Sam Stride? That's a problem for Westbrook. He's run a bit wide on the exit of the corner, and that's going to give the opportunity to Donnelly coming down into Copse.
Yeah, and Donnelly's going to have just cleared the truck of Westbrook as well, and Stride's going to be up the inside, so Westbrook might lose to 3 years. There's a bit of contact just behind as well between Howe and Maxfield, and Maxfield's going to be able to claim a few positions out of this as well. Philip Howe, sorry, is going to be able to claim a few positions.
Sam Stride ran off at Copse as well in the midst of that incident. He protects the position from Maxfield, but that's a disadvantage that he won't want. Riccardo Morganti went for a bit of an adventure as well off into the grass. But have a look at the top 4 meanwhile. Ben Snell, Justin Howe, Mitchell McLeod, and Aaron Dillon almost all in a train. And there goes Justin Howe, the move up the inside on Ben Snell. Can Snell come back at him? Have a look at that. Great throttle application from Ben Snell, and clears him again once they get to the exit. He's got the outside into club and scythes across the front of Justin Howe to keep the race lead, but this is bringing McLeod and Dillon back into contention. We've also got to think about 5th and 6th as well. Wellman and Priest aren't far away.
Yeah, they certainly aren't too far away, and it's every chance they could get onto the back of this train ahead of them and end up making it a six-way fight for the race lead. So we'll have to wait and see what happens and whether these 3 or 4 at the front end up working together or whether they're going to end up fighting as hard as they possibly can and causing those 2 behind to end up catching up.
At the moment, Ben Snell is the best on round points, but a little bit of a shove there. He ran wide out of Priory, and that's given Justin Howe the run. Can he keep it into Luffield? Holds it round the outside. He needs to get on the throttle quick, sharp, get the rotation going, get the torque out of the final corner, and he's got the outside run now. But Ben Snell going to be at the advantage coming into Copse. Mitchell McLeod sees an opportunity here, and they're almost going to go 3 wide down the front stretch, but Snell covers him. He knows that he's got to protect from McLeod more than anyone. Oh my goodness, they're all together into Copse. McLeod makes contact with Howe. Howe makes contact with Snell. McLeod now is through into the lead.
Yeah, and the 2 behind in 5th and 6th are right there nearly as well. So it's all going off at the front of this field, and there's only 5 laps to go. So you got to calm down, boys, or you end up having it end in tears before we get to the final lap.
Yeah, it's going to be hard work there for Ben Snell to try and get that lead back, but ultimately Justin Howe has fallen to 4th, and Aaron Dillon now with the advantage in 3rd place. He has got the draft of Ben Snell as well for good measure. Behind them, Gary Wellman coming under a big amount of threat from Dwayne Priest coming into Stowe. We're going to get a modem simulation replay. There's been another issue for Philip Howe. He went across the gravel trap at Maggots and Beckett's and then bumped off by the number 3 car. That's Daniel Stevens. So no good between those guys. They'll probably have a bit of a chat about that after the races. On for the lead once again. Ben Snell trying up the inside of Mitchell McLeod through Club. We'll see if these guys streak away from everyone else like they did in race 1. The 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th are now almost together. Definitely 4th, 5th and 6th because Gary Wellman and Dwayne Priest have stuck together. Priest up the inside into Bridge, side by side between them as Ben Snell now tries on Mitchell McLeod up the inside of Priory. Can he shove it up the inside of Brooklands as well? Yes, he can. A little bit of contact between the 2 of them though. McLeod sent on a bit of a slide and keeps the lead. Have a look around the outside. Justin Howe. He's going to try and do it.
He's going to try, but he's not quite going to be able to do it. He's going to be left to hang out to dry as Aaron Dillon's going to throw it up the inside to take 3rd place off him and move into a podium position. So Howe's lost out a little bit there as a result, and it's really allowed the front 2 to pull away a little bit here.
Yeah, Mitchell McLeod still enjoys a couple of car lengths over Ben Snell. He's going to have to take advantage of the draft as Snell to try and take that lead back. This top 6, really something special because Justin Howe right on the back here of Aaron Dillon as we ride on board with him. You see how the lines differ. Howe's going for the later apexes. He's thinking about the run down the hanger straight. Stretch out the entry to the corner, straight line the throttle application, and then hopefully he'll get a bit of a run down the straight and try and challenge for 3rd once again. Dillon moves over to the left-hand side of the circuit for the turn-in. What is Howe going to do? Is he going to fire it up the inside at the last second? Yes, he is. My goodness. All the way through into 3rd place. And let's see if he actually keeps it. It looks like he might have gone a little bit too deep there. They are side by side on the run up to Club, though, so he's going to have the advantage through the left-hander, and he does. Justin Howe back up into 3rd place. But, of course, that's cost both of them time because Ben Snell and Mitchell McLeod sticking together once again.
Yes, certainly. He decided better of it, did Dillon, to concede the position and just slot in on behind Howe instead of trying to hold it around the outside and losing more time. And it's actually kind of interesting because you've got the battle for 1st and 2nd, the battle for 3rd and 4th, and you got the battle for 5th and 6th just behind, and then even 7th and 8th is going on. So it's 4 little mini 2-car battle packs.
Yeah, and this one looks like it's going to be 3 pretty soon because Kay Donnelly and Sam Stride slowing each other up. Damian Westbrook driving like a man possessed at the moment as we have a new leader, at least for the time being, because McLeod then defends from Ben Snell. Snell, though, tried around the outside of Luffield. He's hungry for this victory. Coming up to lap 5 now. It's going to be 3 to go as Snell across the line out of Woodcote has a bit of a trip on the grass. McLeod sets the fastest lap, 2:02.6. We'll see if Ben Snell can try and match or beat that in his pursuit of victory. But the top 4 back together now with Snell, a better run out of Copse. He seems to have the throttle application down in this for some reason.
Yeah, he certainly does seem to have this car under wraps from what we can see with the way that he's driving. So he's doing a really good job. He's got a decent run off the corner onto the hangar straight. So we'll see what he can do here and whether he can make a move up the inside. It's looking like he's going to be able to with the run that he's got. And he's going to pull up alongside Mitchell McLeod. They're going to be 2 by 2 on the way into the corner. Is McLeod going to try and hold around the outside? Yes, he is. And Justin Howe now right there with them.
Oh, Ben Snell tried getting on the throttle a little bit earlier, but suffered understeer. So now Snell on the outside. He's going to come under a big threat here from Howe. At the right-hander, though, has the advantage on turn, and he's able to slot back in ahead. But Mitchell McLeod, in spite of all of this, keeping the lead. I can't believe that he's managed to defend the lead for this long.
Yeah, he's certainly done a fantastic job at barely holding on to the lead. Barely, but he's managed to do it regardless. So he's doing everything he needs to at the moment. He's got a replay of Cade Donnelly looking like he's going to be making a move as it's still on for the lead as well.
Yeah, it is. This was what happened between Cade Donnelly and the number 13. Just a bit of contact there between he and Damian Westbrook, and that sent Donnelly right off. But now, as we go back to live pictures, Ben Snell is under threat for second. Oh, a bit of contact with Justin Howe sends him wide, sliding off over the curb. And now Howe is back into fourth again. Oh, no! He tried getting in behind Aaron Dillon a bit too early. Sent him on a bit of a trip as well. And look who this is bringing in. Dwayne Priest now up into the top 5.
Yeah, so we did see that they were going to possibly be a threat later on, and they certainly have come to the party. Have it Wellman and Priest, so we'll see what they can do. Whether one of them's going to be able to take home a podium, with a House just going to be able to do enough to try and defend.
Well, we got one more lap to go after this, so there's plenty of opportunity for that. But that incident ultimately has meant that Snell and McLeod have broken away once again, and with the gap from them all the way back to Justin Howe, it looks like it's going to be a dead heat between Snell and McLeod for the round win here. Snell once again with a slightly better exit onto the hangar straight. Too far back to fire it up the inside of Stowe. It's really difficult to complete passes in these things because you can literally put them wherever you want on the circuit and you'll still be able to get a good drive out of the corner, as we've seen many times tonight.
Yes, certainly. It's one of those weird oddities about these trucks is you can do that sort of stuff as Snell gives McLeod a nice tap to the rear end to try and unsettle him, but it hasn't phased McLeod at all, so he'll continue to hold on to the race lead and continue to actually pull away a little bit as well.
Oh, that's no good there between Nathan Verney and Philip Howe. They've obviously come together. It looks like down the hangar straight, actually in the process of passing a car, and they just came together. At those high speeds, when you get a tap, there is not much you can do in these softly sprung trucks. They both get into the wall for their troubles. Philip Howe losing his rear end. That's a shame for them. But back to live pictures once again. Mitchell McLeod and Ben Snell still fight for the race victory, but have a look at Dwayne Priest. He squeezes up the inside of Aaron Dillon and bumps him out of the way. Dillon goes for a half spin out of Luffield. He manages to get the power down and keep going, but it looks like Gary Wellman is going to get past him into turn 1. Aaron Dillon, the winner of round 1, is having an absolute horror night here.
Yeah, it's not going too according to plan for him, unfortunately, especially in this race as the white flag is in the air this time around. Mitch McLeod sets purple lap as well with the fastest lap of the race. So we have to wait and see what Ben Snell can do and whether he's going to be able to challenge Mitchell McLeod at all on this last lap.
Well, it's very close between the two of them here. A lot of dirt build-up on that visor camera for Ben Snell. Of course, he spent the majority of the time in this race getting dirt and dust flung up at him by trucks in front. Another good run onto the hanger straight, maybe a little bit of a side draft as well, side by side into the braking zone. They're pretty even. Mitch McLeod keeps the momentum, runs wide through the corner, but Snell looks like was just on the throttle an instant earlier. That would have given them the advantage, but McLeod down the hill and through the Vale. Oh my goodness, Ben Snell actually holding it round the outside and into the inside for the next corner. This is amazing. Ben Snell, he's actually managed to do it. He takes the lead. My goodness. That's the first time I think I've seen a driver defend for such a high position out of that particular corner. But it's not over. They got the twisty final sector to go, and Mitch McLeod, if he can stick it around the outside at Bridge, he's got the inside for Priory, and he has. So Ben Snell now only has 2 corners left to try and make this work. Can he slot up the inside into Brooklands? It's going to be a late dive. McLeod holds it. Both of them slide, and McLeod lost a bit of momentum there. Can Ben Snell take victory? We will see. Snell going for the late apex at Luffield. He's going to try and get McLeod on the start-finish straight, but it's not going to happen. Mitchell McLeod with the throttle application. He's got it done. He takes his second race victory of the night, and with that, he should claim the round. Mitchell McLeod and Ben Snell, your top 2 in the third race of the night. My goodness, that was a great fight to end.
Certainly was, and what a race it was. Another round of spectacular racing, and you could not ask for anything better other than that. So great job by Mitchell McLeod, great job by Ben Snell, great job by, in fact, those top 6 to put on the show they did.
Indeed, we're seeing the drivers that had issues come across the line now. Daniel Stevens in 11th. Philip Howe's going to come across the line in 13th despite not having a rear end. Riccardo Morganti, 14th once again, and Phil Connor almost got him across the line. It was quite close between the two of them, but poor Caden Donnelly was certainly expecting more out of that. But our top 3 celebrating out there on track with Dwayne Preece taking 3rd, and that's actually goodness, where is Justin Howe? Justin Howe's actually been demoted to 14th place, I think, because he got a penalty, so that makes his night even worse. So Mitchell McLeod, Ben Snell, and Dwayne Preece are your podium. Gary Wellman is going to come home in 4th after the penalty for Howe. Stride completing at the top 5. Damian Westbrook fighting back to finish 6th, and after seeing what happened to him in the first couple of laps, I'm quite impressed with that. Great driving.
Yeah, certainly very, very good driving. And then over the page, you've got Philip Howell, Riccardo Morganti, followed by Phil Connor, just now Aaron Dillon, Cade Donnelly, and then Peter Rotmans rounding out the 17-car field.
Yes, indeed. So that's the end of the night's racing here at Silverstone. My goodness. For my first round commentating this series, that was certainly something special. I'm really looking forward to the future rounds of this championship now, because if that's anything to go by, what we saw tonight, then we're in for quite a tight championship. The next round's track is going to be announced on Friday, so even we don't know where we're going for next round.
Yeah, certainly, and that's one of the things about this series is that it mixes it up really, really well, and it just leaves everybody hanging, waiting, and seeing what sort of track they're going to be able to do. So it really mixes it up and makes it sort of a bit of even ground, I guess you could say, with the fact that no one's really able to get a lot of practice in.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, that brings to an end proceedings for tonight. Mitchell McLeod is your round winner, taking 2 wins and a 2nd place tonight. Ben Snell with a great debut in this series, winning a race and finishing 2nd in the 2 others. But round 1's winner, Aaron Dillon, coming home in 15th in race 3. He's got a lot of work to do if he wants to regain a handle on that championship lead coming into round 3. But you can catch that same time next week, Wednesday nights on SimSpeed TV. It is the Pro Truck Showdown. I'm Reese Gardner. Cameron Dance joined me in the commentary box tonight, and Jay Kennedy behind the scenes on cameras, making everything happen for you. We hope you've enjoyed the broadcast. A big thanks once again to Scamander Coffee Mug for their support, and we'll see you next week.
racing right now.
He's got traction. He's got everything outside of both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up top
Oh
now.
my God. Big crash. Oh my goodness. Half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no, that's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?